It's acres and move makers.
It's acres and move makers.
I deal with land flippers, acres and move makers, room shakers, big boys with huge paper, the newspapers. You can run but can't escape us. We winning with these flash green when they act racist. Success is so contagious. Let's go.
It's acres and move makers.
Welcome to Acres and Move Makers. My name is Ray.
My name is Jay.
And we are
Acre Boys.
Today, we want to talk to you about what kinds of deals qualify for deal funding in our program.
Now, the kind of deals that qualify for deal funding in our program are the good ones, right? By no stretch of the imagination, are you to bring us anything and we're just going to fund the deal. The deal has to pencil. The deal has to be a good deal. You know what I mean? It has to pass all our criteria as far as getting the deal funded. So what is some of that criteria that it needs to pass, right? You know, it's going to have to pass the flood zone. Is the property in the actual flood zone? And if it is in a flood zone, are all things built up in that area inside of that flood zone too? It's going to go from there. Then it's going to go to access. Does the property have access directly from the road? And if the property does not have access from the road, then do we have an easement that is leading directly into the property? The other A is going to be for adjacent. What's around the property? Because typically that's going to be what you can do with that property. Another important one that I can't stress enough, one of the major factors to that is the comps. What price are we getting this property at to ensure that we're going to double or triple our money? Very, very important when looking at the comps. Comps, for anybody that doesn't know, that's basically what sold within a year, a mile or a mile and a half radius from the subject property. That's going to give you an indication of what you could sell your property for, right? So if we're getting a property, you know, you're getting for $50,000 and it's worth $100,000, as far as the comps, that's going to pass as far as getting a deal actually funded. Then we're going to look at the topography of it. We're going to look what's on it, whether it be a dirt road, gravel road, whatever the case may be. And another thing we're going to look at is slope, just to make sure that that property is not heavily sloped unless it's a recreational property. So once we go through all of our due diligence right there, those are going to be some of the key indicators that we're going to find out if that deal qualifies you in order to get that actual deal funded from us. Because keep in mind, y'all, as far as the funding is concerned, there is money from us and there's money from our investors that are behind us to fund any deal. But the prerequisite of all of that stuff is it has to be a quality deal that's worth funding. So like I said, again, I reiterate, by no stretch of the imagination can you bring us anything and a deal get funded. It has to be something that has some quality to it.
Just make this make sense when you're thinking about going for funding, right? Just think as if you were walking into a bank. It has to be something valuable. What's going to make an investor move on your deal? Jay just went over a plethora of things that most investors, including ourselves, look for when we're looking at deals, or things that we would allow or would not allow. So when you're going for funding, I always tell, especially new investors, because new investors think that, the bigger the deal, the more that they'll jump at it. And that's not necessarily true. Sure. You have to know what's going on in the market. You have to know what's going on current date. And a lot of investors, the threshold for most investors is going to be around $60,000. Anything over $60,000, they're not saying that they won't do the deal, but they're going to scrutinize this deal a lot more once it gets over that threshold of $60,000. So make sure that it's a good deal. And the other thing about that $60,000 benchmark is that when you start playing, most banks don't give funding for land. So your buyer pool becomes a lot smaller at higher denominations. So most new investors, they come in and think, hey, I got this property, I'm getting it for 180, we can sell it for 350. It sounds good, but who realistically has, the average person don't have 350 just sitting around. So now your buyer pool has been condensed. So now you're really just targeting probably builders or other investors, things of that nature. So these are how investors think when it's come to this. So some investors would rather say, instead of me paying $180,000, I'll do 3 deals for $40,000 and make the same money. So make sure that your deals are, first of all, they check out, think how you think the investor would think, right? We took $1 million deal and we got the funding for the $1 million deal. In fact, it was $3.4 million. But when we went for funding for that deal, certain investors passed. Quite a few passed. Not that nothing was wrong with the property. It's just that they said, I don't want to play in that denomination bracket. I'd rather do smaller deals. I can do, 3 or 4 at $150,000 a piece and somewhat make some of the same money, especially
and less risky, yeah.
And less risky.
Yeah.
So you have to think how the investors think and give it a whirl. Do your best to come up with the best properties you can find. All I can say is all investors, common sense, like margins. Margins always are intriguing.
For sure.
It definitely will get eyes on your property if you got nice margins there. The things, let's talk about some of the things that investors probably would immediately stay away from. Most of them are going to stay away from lower denominations, like if it's a buy for $5,000 and you're selling it for $10,000. They probably would pass on that. We would probably pass on that type of deal as well. It's just not enough wiggle room in there or room for error in there. If it's maxing out at $10,000 and you can't sell it for what is maxing out, you always have to leave wiggle room. So now if we're selling it for $8,000, we paid $5,000, it's not really a whole lot of money. You have to get something off the deal. If you have a realtor on the deal, they have to get something off the deal. And what's left? We put this money out to make, $800. So they'll probably pass on those. Some of them will pass on buy for 10, sell for 20. Same reasons, because it's just not enough wiggle room inside of those deals. A buy for 10, sell for 20. Realtor has to get what he has to get off of it, which is typically 6% on up. We have to split that money. You understand what I'm saying with this? So profit margins, the wider, the better. You'll get faster eyes on your deal that way.
Yeah, for sure. So just keep that in mind, y'all. When you're coming into, our curriculum or whatever the case may be, as far as getting funded, make sure that the deal is a good deal and it has meat on the actual bone. Meat on the bone, meaning enough that we can pay the realtor, we can get our money back and still split up and still make a decent amount of money based off of that transaction.
And if, last but not least, if it's just a diamond of the property and the profit margins aren't that wide, then, people will take a chance. We'll take a chance on it if it's a diamond of a property that's like, yo, look, this is going to go. It's going to sell really fast. It don't have the huge profit margins, but this is going to sell really fast because of where it's at. Then investors will take a look at it. Money likes speed. Investors like speed at any denomination. If it's a sure deal that we know that will go, you'll get it funded.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so if you found this content valuable, chime in, leave your comments below.
Comment, subscribe, all of those things.
Help us grow this channel. If you or anyone you know has a deal that they would like to present to the Acre Boys, we do fund deals. All we say is make sure that you've done your homework on the deal before bringing it and make sure it's an off-market deal.
Sure.
We don't do deals that's on the market.
Retail. We stay away from retail.
All right, so till the next time, invest in dirt.
It's a clean way to make money. Peace, y'all.